started? Thanks everyone for coming for the general meeting. There's a couple things we're going to talk about today. Universal remote update, I know there's some issues with that. T-shirt update, there's a few issues with that. We're going to talk about the election processes. We're going to, a couple of us are going to be, well, I'm going to be leaving hopefully at the end of the summer. So we're going to talk about new officer elections and everything like that. And then we have two groups actually we're talking about little toys that they come out and bring in. So universal remotes, a couple people picked up their remotes at the meeting. I know there weren't a lot of them, so we have kits here available. In case anyone bought a kit and then grab theirs, like Sam's down in the back, show that. We think that the issue was with a couple of the ICs that they were overheating and people saw them moving. So we included sockets there so the new processor, the new microcontroller don't overheat. And there should be an open lab section on Thursday, March 20th from 7 to 9. So anyone who didn't get to some of their kits will get to this time. Or if you want to repair your kit, you can do that during that time as well. T-shirt update. I don't know if anyone ordered a t-shirt here or got my email, but we were, I'd say, misquoted from the original printer. We quoted us a price, and since we fell below the certain unit price, we quoted me over 3 times the amount for maybe an extra, about 7 t-shirts less than we originally quoted them.
Buy 7 t-shirts. It's cheaper.
I agree. So it's a big deal with the printer, so we're looking for a new one. Talked to a few of them, so we're going to go back to a couple, so as soon as I know anything, you guys will get an email out. And then Freddie's going to talk about elections.
Okay, so there's a lot of info here. So if you guys are interested in running for officer position next year, better pay attention. So originally, officer positions, I know this year were held in the fall. They were moved there last year, and they're going to be moved back to the spring now. So we're going to have spring elections going forward. These are the positions that are going to be available for the 2014-2015 year: President, Vice President, Public Relations, Treasurer, Project Engineer, Junior Project Engineer, Webmaster, Multimedia Publicist, and then Freshman Ambassador, who will be brought on in the fall when the freshman election year. So officer positions will be active for a full 12 months. So that does, they would start around April, end of April, beginning of May, and then continue forward. We're going to begin accepting nominations tonight. Once I publish the Google Forms, it will be accessible through Google Forms. And they will be accessible through Friday, March 21st, so we're going to give you guys about 8 days to get that in. So once those close, then we're going to get the ballots ready, and we're going to hold our general election in April at our next general meeting, which is to be April 17th. And then any current UNO student may vote during the elections. Sorry, Tim. Can't vote. If you're unable to attend the general meeting, we're going to set up the ability to request a mail-in ballot to do it ahead of time. So I can vote if you can't make it to the meeting. So we'll have that. General officer requirements: you have to be a current UNO student, or as well as for the upcoming academic year, you have to be good academic standing with UNO and the College of Engineering, so you can't be on academic probation or anything like that. These positions will be elected in a general public forum, so they'll be held here and by the voting members of PKI IEEE chapters. Basically, show up your voting member, so you can vote. That's a little bit different from previous years where you had to have the IEEE membership, but you actually pay $100 shares. So, yeah. So the generally elected positions are President, Vice President, Public Relations, and Treasurer. So there's only 4 positions that are actually generally elected. After those positions have been announced, that board will actually choose the other positions. So that's a lot different than we've done previously. The reason that we are doing that is because the other positions are a little more technical based, and we want to be a little more selective in how we bring those people on, for especially for the project engineers. So. Additional officer requirements for these generally elected positions. For the president, you need to submit a letter of intent to the current PKI IEEE officer board stating why you would like to run. That board will approve your nomination before you place it on the ballot. And you cannot have previously served as an elected president of PKI IEEE. So the reason that we have this letter of intent is a bit of a safeguard for us to kind of weed out people who who will run for president, but maybe they don't actually really want to run the chapter because it is a lot of work. It's a monumental amount of work. So we put this in place so that basically you're telling us why you want to run, and that shows us that you actually have that right to lead the organization. You're going to lead the organization. So that's why that safeguard's there. So basically, if you submit it and you don't give us any kind of letter of intent, probably you won't be allowed to run the ballot. So that's kind of the safeguard we put in place for that position. The vice president, previous leadership experience is preferred. It's not required, but it's preferred because, again, VP position is also a lot of work. You cannot have previously served as a vice president-elect PKI. So, public relations, strong public speaking and interpersonal skills are preferred. So, if you hate getting up and talking in front of people, you probably should do public relations. Yeah. And then treasurer, accounting and tax knowledge is nice because we do have to deal with that from time to time. So it's nice. You don't have to have it, but it's good. Yeah. So, but so these positions shall be. Sorry. All right. So we're moving on to the other 4 positions. So these are the board elected positions, and these are the ones that are selected in a closed forum between the newly elected members of the officers board in conjunction with the faculty advisor. Officers will be selected based on particular skill sets and experience. So we're basically going to go through like the project engineer, kind of determine, okay, who has the best skill set to lead projects. Because I know that these 2 projects that we put out, those obviously take a certain skill set, needs to be designed, just overall understanding of design. So it's very important to have that so we continue to drive those projects. So these are the 4 positions that will be selected by the board: project engineer, junior project engineer, webmaster media publicist, and then ambassadors. So requirements for project engineer: advanced knowledge in schematic and PCB design. So if you've taken 4330 or you just have that background previously, those are kind of one of the base requirements. Ability to design advanced projects via discrete components, NICs from scratch, really good debugging knowledge, and then portfolio of previous projects would be nice if you worked on things previously. Those are good things to show when you apply for something like this. Junior project engineer, we're essentially looking for someone who has either taken or has equivalent experience in 1060, 2220, and 3130, and has debugging knowledge. That's not like a set stone if you have to have taken those classes, but if you don't have those classes, you need to have that background knowledge available.
Or at least willing to.
Yeah. So. Media publicist, so experience in photography and videography is definitely something we're looking for. And experience with editing, design, publishing, very types of media. And then upon election into the officers board, the following responsibilities will be required of all officers. We have weekly meetings. They usually go about an hour. That's something that you really do have to attend on a regular basis because that's kind of how we get these things organized weekly. You have to participate in the majority of the general meetings and events that we put on. Sometimes those are on weekends, sometimes those are weeknights, various times of the day. So. And then, obviously, positively promote the student organization, the student body. Don't pressure believing. So we're talking about how much you can actually believe. It's probably not the best strategy. So, and then maintain a level of professionalism when you represent the organization. So, kind of simple formalities. So responsibilities for each of these positions. So the president is essentially laying out a lot of the big picture annual goals. Looking at internal funding, whether that be through grants, through ESOP or National Science Foundation, we're going to be taking care of all that. And maintains communication between all the other officers through ESOP, through student government, through our engineering center. Those are the positions that we have contacts with the university. Very important to reach out to those types of people. And then responsible for the success of every other officer on the board, and then they're also directly responsible for managing the treasurer, project engineer, junior And then VP, they assist in laying out those annual goals with the president. They also assist in managing the annual budget. And then the VP is kind of in charge of executing some of the events, or most of the events that will go on throughout the year. And then they're going to be directly responsible for the public relations, meeting notices, and ambassadors. And if the president for whatever reason is not, whether that be a short-term or long-term vacancy, they will assume the roles and responsibilities of the president. Treasurer, responsible for finances, taxes, audits on the bank account, money we keep in the office. So basically in charge of managing all the money, which is more work than it seems like. We learned that this year is quite a bit to my inspector shaking his head. So this is good amount of work. So project engineer, these responsibilities, you've probably seen a lot of this in what Sam's done this year. Sam, designed, prototyped and built these projects, so that's what the project engineer is responsible for. Manages the inventory of the parts cabinet, helps facilitate the open labs that we have for you guys to complete these projects, and then delegates to the junior project engineer as needed. And then basically the junior project engineer is there to kind of help out project engineer because their workload can get pretty heavy. So helps manage that inventory, helps manage projects. They might take on side projects so we can run projects simultaneously. Also assisting in open labs, and then they report to the project engineer. Media publicist, maintaining website, Facebook page, other media outlets. Promotes the organization through photos and videos, designs posters and flyers, basically anything that is a design aspect. Those are the types of things that we be looking for and publicists to do. And then ambassadors, they're responsible for advocating the respective class organization, inform students about the next classmates on an individual basis. So, officer dismissal vacancies. Basically, if you're an officer and you don't do your job, you can be voted off the board. That's really what it comes down to. If you're in one of these positions. So, and this is just kind of going through, like, if the president is vacant, VP becomes president, and public relationships up to vice president. Same thing with VP. And then, like, if there's a treasurer vacancy, we'll have a special general election. Like, we have a general election coming up. But if it's a board elected position, we'll treat it as a board elected one. People will apply and get selected. So, I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. I'm trying all that out. I will post that online too for you. I'm going to send out an email tonight with the Google Doc locations, the Google Forms, where you can apply for these positions, and you'll have 8 days to do that. Other questions? What's up?
Can you just nominate like the generals or the board elected position? Would you go ahead and submit them now, or would you wait until the board submit?
Well, I think we're gonna have all 8 of those positions. They will close next Friday.
So basically put it at the same time.
Put everything at the same time, just keep it easy. And then we'll announce those first 4 first. And then those 4 have to go through the process of us selecting those other members. So that will take probably an additional week after all of that. So, other questions? Concerns? Anything? All right.
Okay, so we have, like I said, maybe 2, I guess you'd say this week, we have multiple this week. Our first group is Tim, Brad, Robert, and Mark, and they're going to be talking about the digital canvas here.
Yes.
So if you guys just want to go ahead and pay attention, and they're going to come up and present a little bit.
So, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out here tonight. Even if they bribed you by pizza, that's the way they got us too, with bribing us for pizza. So, we understand. So I'd like to begin tonight by actually telling you a little about myself. My name is Tim Larsen. I graduated from this school last year. And since then, I've had my own company. My background is a lot different than most of you, I'm guessing. Who here can guess how many years I spent in college? 12.
9.
He knew. I was in college for 9 years. I graduated high school in 2004. I came to school and I didn't exactly know what I wanted to be. That's a lie. I knew what I wanted to be. What was my first degree? What was my first major in? Dancing. I went to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I was going to be a dancer. And it was marvelous. I was living high on the affirmative action money that you get by being a male in the dance department. hanging out with a bunch of gorgeous, flexible women. Life was good as a dancer until I got to my junior year and realized that I was about to be poor and broke for my entire life. And so, from there, adjustments had to be made. And so in addition to my dance degree, I decided to become a physicist. Bit of a jump. Ended up taking 4 years of classes in a year and a half. It led me to a few months in there, which I was partially suicidal. But I got done. Then I got into the job, then I actually graduated, I got my degrees, I went out in the real world, and I was flying around saying, hey, what can I do with a degree in physics? What's out here for me? And basically they said, well, you can do just about anything, but we're going to pay you half as much. A degree in physics teaches you about the natural world, and it gives you a great fundamental understanding of everything around you. But what it did not do was give me any certifications on a piece of paper, which gave my employer incentive to give me more money, which, to tell you the truth, is all I really cared about. Otherwise, I'd be in the New York State Ballet right now. So, I attempted to become an engineer through the UNL program. I was there for 2 years. I transferred here after 2 years because I did not like that one. It didn't treat me very well, and this place was very welcoming. When I came here, I met professors. They were very kind to me. I became an electronics engineer for my degree, and upon graduation, you guys had to deal with me. So anyway, one thing that everybody in here is either presently doing or will have to do if they complete the program is senior thesis. It's an eye-opening experience for everyone involved. It teaches you a couple things. One of them is that you don't know jack shit about what you're doing. The other one is no one else does either. And it makes you feel a little bit better, realizing that everyone else is just as much a failure as you. And it's so true. For senior thesis, my team, and I should really say our team, because 3 of the people in this group were all on the same senior thesis team. We created a simultaneous viewing television, making so 2 people could watch the same screen at once and be watching different video. It didn't work. We still came in second place. You know who came in first place? This guy. That's why we hired him. Anyway, the really fun thing about senior thesis, at least for us, was that his group helped out mine substantially. Our group helped out his substantially. So in our minds, we both won first and second.
They took second.
Yeah. So when I graduated, I always wanted to start my own engineering company. And I was saying to myself, who should I recruit? I wanted to recruit my entire group, but that didn't end up working. Because one of them already had a very lucrative job position offered to them. Her name is Sarah Shin. We wish the best for her. I hate her a little bit inside for refusing me. And one day I'll have my revenge. But It worked out to do very well because I managed to get Brad to join me. And it's something that we're very, very happy with. Anyway, we're here to talk to you about actually making your own company, designing a product. If you haven't guessed yet, we built this thing. And it's been an experience. Every one of us will claim that to be true. So, what exactly is a startup? Well, it's literally a company that just started up. And if you ever choose to be your own, start your own thing, it's one of the most difficult things you'll ever do. Not just because of the paperwork involved, but it takes dedication beyond anything we thought possible. Startups don't have any income. You either have to get loans, develop a product and put it out for crowdfunding, or pay for it yourself. It's a very difficult process. Not only that, you have to find people to work with you in your startup company. For free. That is not an easy task when dealing with engineers, which have prospects of being paid. These three guys, he has a job, he's a grad student, he's going to be a Freemason. So, we all took a few different paths there. The other thing that's actually very difficult about doing a startup is you have to come up with product ideas. You eventually sit down and realize most things you're coming up with have already been made. And that's not an exaggeration. This product we have right here is a digital canvas. I came up with it after one painstaking, delusional, been in the same room with these guys, nights, and senior thesis, and I was sure nothing like it existed on the market. Put it on the market, there were a couple items that could not perform at this thing's level, but were similar. The more you research, the more you realize that all of your good ideas have, for the most part, been thrown out in some way upon, open society. It's your job to weed through everything you have, find the best one, and go with it. So in terms of product idea, you gotta ask yourself, what is needed? What is wanted? What do I have the resources to make? And what will my team meet with me to do? After a lot of deliberation, we settled to go for this product, digital canvas. My company's name is Ampere Volt LLC. Now, the reason LLC is in there is because of cheat on the taxes. And therefore it is a lease liability company. Now, founding it basically is paperwork. Who works here? You're looking at everyone who works there. Funding, we haven't figured that out yet. We're actually attempting to put this on a crowdfunding platform. And that will hopefully be done quite soon. We're almost there. We still have to get the website up and running and the video advertisement for it, both of which are on my end and are my fault. They're not done yet. But, like I said, it's coming for the future. With that, I'm actually going to switch over to some people who aren't as funny.
Thanks, Tim. How you doing? My name is Marc McCaslin. I'm Tim Sever, graduated about a year ago. And, we kind of recruited into making this project, and basically, it's basically two parts. Basically, you have the case in front here, which holds the TV screen and computer, and you have the user portion. And the case, the front part of it here, contains the screen, as you can see, and the backlights. Rear portion, which you can see in the picture up there, the smallest part on the top is the rear, and it contains the CPU, the motherboard, hard drive, the two power supplies, as well as the TV idle power. Next. And of course the easel's in the back here holding the thing up, and it actually has a 360-degree swivel on it, kind of your basic TV mount. It does pan forward as well. So if you want to do your project working with this digital visual and landscape with options available, as well as all construction, just like the case. Next. And some of the components we have, we decided to go with a mini ATX computer motherboard form factor. It's actually 6.7 by 6.7 inch, so it's quite small. It takes up about less than half the width of the case in back. We have about 4 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM in it, and it's got multiple ports on it, the full array of video ports. You got DVI, HDMI, the display port, as well as it's got USB 3.0, up to 6 of those, as well as 6 USB 3.0, or 2.0. And integrated video. Thanks. And some of the components, it's got a 320 gigabyte RAM in there. Micro MTX power supply, which is in the center of the microphone, as well as the TV power supply and the I/O. And basically, the heart of our project revolves around the lead motion controller. I don't know how many of you are familiar with lead motion. Like that, show of hands. It's basically, if you could think of an Xbox 360, that tracks the motion of your hands, allows you to do things with the screen, and kind of in the place of the mouse. And we get a better explanation of that. I can hardly that also. So let's see. We also one of the things when the Leap first came out, it had come with software that wasn't so good. So we basically had to overcome that, and we did that with our computer engineers / software engineers. Right.
So when we got the Leap motion controller, it came with some drivers. There are actually 2 sets of drivers. The first one, just to be able to get data off of the device. And the second one was a mouse controller. Something that you can control virtually, actually only on Windows. Use the Leap motion controller as a mouse. And for this, their program for it, you can use a single finger, you would move your hand, and like the exploit plane right in front of the screen, and you can control your mouse. To click, you would move your finger closer to the screen. And then once you get a certain distance from the screen, you will be able to click. But there were a few problems with it. It's not really all that easy to keep your finger steady enough to keep it on point while you're moving closer to the screen. Also, since it's one involved for working on a desktop, you're leaning there with your elbow on the table, and you move your finger closer, your hand goes down. So, especially if you're working in a small area, say Microsoft Word, where you have the save button, open all those, we would at times be trying to hit the save button, and we hit the open. So we need to find a better way to use this Leap motion controller to actually function as a mouse. That's where our driver comes in. We decided to go with a 2-handed control. The right hand, just like Leap's version, is used to control the mouse pointer, while your left hand controls clicking. Since you've got 2 separate hands for this, you no longer have to try and move your right hand while you're clicking. Much more stable. Now, as we try to implement this, first thing we tried was just directly mapping the velocity of your fingertip to motions on the screen, and that didn't work too well. You'd move your finger just a quarter of an inch in the air, and the cursor would zip all the way across the screen. So we had to filter the data. Just like in electronic circuit, you've got some noise on your signal, you're going to try to do some filtering to get everything to behave the way you want. So first we did was a scaling. So try to scale down the velocity value to a smaller value that would actually move better on the screen. In fact, the filter, if you look at it, goes a lot closer to a bandpass. Move slow enough and move too slow wouldn't, and stop, move too fast and it wouldn't work. But this one still had a lot of jitter on the signal. So then we did a low pass filter on it to remove all the jitter from the signal. And now we had very smooth tracking. Now this portion is still in progress of trying to get the click to work perfectly. Right now, when you do a click, sometimes it will detect a click and release instead. And so we're using a debounce, similar to what you would use on a circular physical switch. But wait until it's been held down long enough or detected, held down long enough before we take the click. Same thing with release. And then using a timeout to be able to select between left click, right click, and click and drag. And now we'll move over to Robert to talk about project management.
Tim asked me to just discuss with you guys project management, tips that may be helpful for you during any projects you have in school, and also pursuing a thesis. This information would be very helpful. It would be helpful for us if someone gave a presentation on this to us. Project management, there's several resources you can use for it. Microsoft Project, there's several project management websites out there. For brief time in this project, we use Asana. It's pretty neat website. I'll show you a screenshot of it in a minute. Email and just regular group meetings. Just make sure you're constantly in contact with everyone in the group, know what they're working on, know when they're going to be done with it, and also just know generally what's up with it. This is the screenshot from Asana that I just mentioned. As we can see, you can list out your tasks. On the left side here, you see the initials. Those are people that will be responsible for the task. And under that, you can also put associated people with the task. It sends out a regular email, so it allows you to stay updated on the project on a weekly basis, know what everyone's working on, and just the progress of their task. For planning, there's quite a few resources you can use. As students and IEEE members, you should have access to DreamSpark. Unless I stopped that, I know I had access to it last year. DreamSpark, you were able to get Microsoft projects, Visio, absolutely free. They also had all kinds of versions of Windows, all the way from XP to Windows 8 uploaded. Autodesk is also free for student use, so take advantage of that. It's a great program to learn how to use and just fun to play around on every once in a while. I use Inventor and AutoCAD frequently during our thesis project, and I also use it frequently during this project. And there's also free software you can get online. EagleCAD, it's for designing PCBs. I'm sure you guys have heard of that, maybe through IEEE. SketchUp, it's Google's version of Inventor, basically. It allows you to create 3D models. And LT Spice. It's a Spice program that allows you to do surface schematics, much like eSpice that you would have used in 1060? 2020. It's important to also shop online and compare prices. Don't just buy whatever Mouser has on its front page. There's numerous websites. You have DigiKey, Amazon, Bash PCB to order PCBs. Advanced Circuits also gives student discounts on PCBs, so check them out every once in a while when new PCBs design. Use search engines to define products. I mean, you may need an item that isn't on Mouser or DigiKey, but you can find it somewhere else. And then there's also places you can get free samples of IC chips like TI. It's very easy to get free samples from them. Contact companies directly. Sometimes you're not going to find what you need directly on their website. You may need to call them up and say, hey, I need this part. Can I get just this part without having to buy the entire piece? And then you can also ask them about bulk pricing and if they have special deals for students. Place to build, this is an important one. PKI Labs, it's very important to go ahead and get lab access and building access. This allows you to come in anytime and work on your projects at 2 a.m. even if you wanted to. Garages work great when they're available. I know a lot of students don't really have access to garages unless you're living at home. There's also tools built for rental. I know Menards rents tools, so that's a good place to get some tools and get them in. Omaha Maker Group, we didn't know about this until after student thesis group. Does anyone know about it? Omaha Maker Group. It's a pretty good workshop that you can work in. They have 3D printer available. They have wood and metal working machines, and several times that we went there, they were very friendly, very willing to help assist us. We're running out of time, so this is my summary. I won't say much about it. And that's the end of the presentation. Questions for them?
You guys use Octopart and Pine Chips?
No.
There are two websites that you can find components.
Octopart basically will give you, it's really great for data sheets. That's why I choose for
No,
that.
No, it searches inventory on all those.
Basically go different one than
Data sheet archive.
That's one thing.
All data sheets.
All data sheets.
Yeah, Octopart and Pine Chips is the same thing. It's you type in a part number and it'll search as many of the different, Mauser, Avnet, Arrow, Future Electronics, and it'll give you the stock availability of each one. Also, it gives you prices, so you can tell for cheap. It's a quick way to see the price.
Yes.
I guess I have a few questions. Who's your target market?
Basically, the thing was originally designed such that it could be used for drafting artists. Anybody who creates something, well, unique, which was forced up to this point to use a mouse or a touchscreen. The thing that has irritated me in recent years about our present state of technology is that we're using two devices to achieve the same task. If you go to Best Buy anymore and you purchase a laptop, it comes both with a touchpad and a touchscreen. If you need both of those, that means neither of them is achieved full functionality. I don't like redundancy. And so, the goal of this project was to replace both of those with a single apparatus, which would utilize the benefits of either of them without requiring you to switch consistently for what you needed. And so, originally we were thinking drafters, and then we went artists, and then we just began to realize that this setup is useful for anyone who uses a mouse, anyone who uses a touchscreen. So this could go anywhere.
It's also a fully functional TV.
That's number two. It's also a fully functional TV. So you can play video games on it.
Brandon, I don't need as much time as these guys. If he wants to give a demo of it, take a few more minutes.
That's fine.
I was going to talk for a few minutes and have
Yeah, I didn't know how much
people
time
play
you
and
had.
stuff. So yeah.
Okay, all right.
I
I apologize for intruding on your time.
No, it's fine. You guys have a lot. You have a lot of information here, so it'll be a shame if you didn't get the demo. Yeah.
Well, actually, in terms of I've used this thing 1,000 times, who wants to give it a try? Someone, raise your hand. All right, love your hand. All right, it's a two-handed system.
Right, introduce yourself first.
I'm Cameron Esmere, sophomore. Ooh.
Now, I'm going to read the lead motion control right here. Now, lead motion control projects this motion up in a cone. So, in order to use this thing properly, you have to have your hands at least a certain height. It's a two-handed system. So yes, start off like this. You move your right hand and correspond to the screen. I'll scoot forward a little bit. See, now I can see you.
Yeah.
The shaking goes away with time. What's happening is you're a little nervous. If you want to click on something, make a fist with your left hand, including your thumb. Good shaking. No pressure. Good shaking. No pressure.
He's a drink.
It takes a little practice to get used to.
Hand, works best if your hands are right over the other right.
Use more of my hands.
Mark's the only member of our group that has refused to test the name. What are you trying to get into?
I don't know.
Personal files.
All right.
It is. Anyone else want to go try? Come on down. Yes.
So, I worked in the Scott Technology Center, and they have an incubator. I don't know what it's called, but it's an incubator.
It's a business incubator.
Yeah. So
Yes.
how many opportunities like that are there that can be looked into anything like that?
If we're thinking about the same program, right before I graduated, I actually taught that incubator program. And I was not very enthusiastic about it, so we did not proceed down that path. Now, there there are other programs available to you. However, I am such an arrogant bastard that I thought I could do this all on my own, and I didn't need them. And I was right.
So those are like actually programs, they're not just angel investors.
Well, the incubator thing they have, this is the one thing they do have, is that they do have the ability to get you investors to go into this thing. Now, you gotta be careful with investors as well. Especially in startups, a lot of these people, when they invest in you, want a significant share of the company. So even if you make it big, by the time you're done with it, you won't control your own stuff. And so we've actually taken a more risky route with this, in the way that we financed it ourselves up to this point, and then we're going to put it through crowdfunding. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to work. And I'm pretty sure if it doesn't, these guys are going to leave me. In which case, you know, I'm taking half your stuff.
You pay for it anyway.
Yes.
I'm left-handed, it seems more natural for me to poke with my left hand. But with the other
The
hand-
final version of this is going to work with one-handed, two-handed, left-handed, right-handed, and there's going to be other built-in motions to it as well. Right now, it works, with the left and the right because, well, the same reason it works better for someone who's 5'10". I'll kill that right.
Are you gonna be able to adjust it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're gonna be able to adjust the height of it?
This is a prototype, it's a very rough prototype of that.
Yes. We're supposed to have a flow.
It's gonna get slimmer. It's not gonna be this.
I've been around people who like, my cousin an artist and stuff like that. He uses, he has a Mac and he uses, the big pad. You can use pen.
Artistic tablet.
Yeah, and it does a really, really good job. I mean,
It does.
Is this just as accurate as?
At this point, let me phrase it this way. I have used it the most. I have an artistic pad, and if I've gotten to the point that I can use this thing just as well, it takes practice.
Right, the pad, yeah.
There is a benefit to it, though, which is that the artistic pad, if you need to adjust yourself, requires you to either look at the screen or look at your hands. Whereas this, you just have to look at the screen. You can do it simultaneously. There's a couple other weaknesses of the artistic pads. One of them is that you consistently have to replace those pens. They go bad. Whereas this, you're not actually putting any physical strain on anything.
Might have to replace your arms.
Yeah.
What was it?
Have you heard of gorilla arms? They use some touch pads for invented, they started using them. Arms got tired, exactly. Arms up.
This one, I used this thing for 3 hours and I have in a row, and I did not have a problem with it. Of course, if you ever seen me, I kind of walk around kind of evil scientist-ish. So that could just be me. However, Brad, have you noticed any exhaustion from issues with this?
Pretty much.
The benefit of this one is you don't actually have to do this motion. This is actually a very easy and comfortable way to keep your hands. In fact, if you look at children before they hit like age 12, a lot of them are holding their arms like this way still, just because it's a natural way for them to fold up. They do this, permanently, it becomes a mental disorder, but yes.
So I remember he was saying that like if you have your like elbows resting and you move forward and down, like is that one of the things that you're working on where you can like just like touch around and move your hand off the table?
Right now, well, here's the thing.
Or does it
This
have to be
apparatus is
in
not
place?
designed for you to have your elbows on the table at the moment. And here's the other thing. Those original drivers which they they made them free for this thing. He was being kind, they were garbage. For so long, I opened this thing up into Windows 8 mode, and I just wanted to select Netflix on the opening menu. And I couldn't do it. The icon was that large on the screen. It didn't matter if my elbow was resting on something, if I had it up in the air. It was a horribly flawed design. Part of it wasn't just because of the jitter of it going up and down, although that was a big deal. It wasn't because your hand moves down as you press forward, although that was a problem. It wasn't because there was a threshold which you had to cross, which you could not see. well, that was a problem. The primary issue with it was that the lead motion controller had to be right here. This thing emits a cone. You automatically lose the corners of what you're trying to select. Netflix was right there on the screen. Couldn't get to it. And so, after dealing with that, we realized eventually keeping your hands directly on, the desk itself isn't that beneficial, because you lose the majority of what this thing can see, unless you have enormous orangutan arms. Which if you do, I'm not judging.
Yes. How are you going to overcome that sort of belief that most things are just that bad? You said they drive your pain.
Well, I'm sorry, I was saying.
Well, how are you going to overcome, because that's
well,
my
experience.
Because that's my experience with it, is that it's really hard to use that stuff, and most of the time it's crap. Because you're I guess they can't get going on some things, and it's just poorly built.
The issue with it came fundamentally from their design of of two things. Their stuff, they couldn't figure out the filters, such that the motion was smooth. We did. It took a long time, but we did it.
I
Also,
the public believes that it doesn't work. How are you going to
well, if you actually look at the rating of those drivers online, on this company's own website, they allow people to give them a star rating. That was 1 out of 5. Everybody already knows it doesn't work.
Right.
How are you going to do damage control?
How are you going to damage control on that?
Yeah.
Well, primarily I think that we'll just have to demonstrate it over and over and
Well, on our
over.
website, we're going to have star ratings, and we're going to just falsely.
Pretty 20
Have you ever thought about
selling your guys' driver back to them?
we will not sell it back to them. However, the driver will be for sale. Where these leads can be purchased from everything from Best Buy to even Radio Shack has it now. And if you go to this company's actual website, they actually have an area where you can put programs that you have designed for sale. There is no functional mouse system there, because everybody has tried to do it the same way, which is single-handedly crossing a threshold. And they're trying to do it that way because it's easier to visualize and it's easier, to program. We are constructing a single-click mouse driver, but it's not going to function that way. It actually is going to work by tracking the velocity of your finger in different directions.
Does anybody have any other questions for them?
I'm sure they'll be around afterwards too.
Nope, we're leaving.
Brandon asked me to come and speak. I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about, so I went back and forth doing a project, going over projects. It's hard to pick a project to talk about, something you guys think is interesting. Maybe giving some life lessons that I've had that I passed some of those on. That sounds pretty important too. So I'm going to do something a little bit in the middle. Let's talk about myself a little bit, a couple of my experiences. Then I just brought a bunch of projects, and when I'm done, you guys can just come up and look at what I have and ask questions or whatever. So I graduated CEEN with EE in fall 2009. I was a semester late because I took a semester in Lincoln. Graduated here on the other side. Similar to your experience, isn't it great? I came running back. I had plenty of time to. Definitely not the same environment. This place is definitely special. I was involved in PKI IEEE too. Project manager. Loved doing projects. It was so much fun. Getting everybody in there, building stuff. We did a few things while we were in there. I was vice president. Wasn't as good at that as I was a project manager, but it was still pretty fun. Out of college, I worked at 3 places. TSI, which is a hardware contract engineering and manufacturing company here in Omaha. It's a technical support incorporated, small business. You guys might have heard of them. They do some donations and things like that. Adjusted G4S, which is commercial security, and then SMS, which is Secure Mission Solutions, which is government security. Then I go over some of the IEEE stuff we had. The power supplies in the middle. We had Christmas trees. This was my voyeur time when I was taking pictures here. This was coming up underneath the sash. And if anybody's wondering, I am wondering too, where are Austin's shoes? I don't know. With all the controversy lately with the merger stuff, I also kind of want to talk about why CEEN's special. I had an amazing time here. College was so much fun to me. I mean, I had so many opportunities, and I don't think you could have had those in any other college. I really don't. The faculty is beyond supportive. They want you to do well. If you have any initiative and drive to do things, they will find a way to get you what you need. When I was a student, I made a couple boards. The motor testing unit was something that I wanted to make for testing motors. I don't know if they're even still around, but it was funded by the college. I got to design the board, do all that stuff. They took care of it. CEEN TechBot remote control, I did that while I was independent study. I got all that stuff here, I brought all of it with me. Dug everything out today, went down to memory lane, find all this stuff, and dust everything off. And I found out that you can wash off 7-year-old flux off of a board with alcohol. I had let Ben look at alcohol. If you live in a 91% alcohol bath for about 15 minutes, and then
I'd probably drink that.
Isopropyl? That would explain a lot. Actually, okay, I understand now. CEEN. So, when I was a sophomore, when I was in Lincoln, I had a lot of time, and we had the tech bots at the time. I don't know if you guys have even seen those things, but they did not live up to the expectations of the program. And I was kind of looking at the same thing, and I know we could make something in the department. So over Christmas break of 2006, I made this thing, which is the top of the tech bot board. I lost the motors, I couldn't find them, I don't know where they went. There were motors on three wheels. And I took this turd, I laid it on Dr. Chen's desk in front of him, and I said, I think we can make these. I think we can do better than the tech bot. And he looked at me and said, how much time do you need? I said, well, maybe 6 months. Okay, he gave me a job, some money, an office to work in, and it went from there. I mean, that's, where else are you going to go that you're going to have an opportunity? It's just not going to happen. Other projects we worked on, I had a submarine project when I was a freshman, and Dr. Chen was very supportive with that too. Got me a poster, got me an EWE to go down there and do some presentations with it. If you guys ever look for different competitions, I wanted to fill you in on this. I started looking around, like, where can I take this stuff that we kind of fun to go out and compete with people. I came across the Rochester Institute School of Technology Student Design Competition, and talked to Dr. Chen. He couldn't give me any money, but went to Winnie Callahan, who was the director at the time, and they funded me and Dean Glazetsky to go. We went out to Rochester, New York for this one. Competed against 12, 15 schools, I don't remember all of them. DeVry, West Point, Royal Academy of Canada. Took first place. You know, a submarine from Nebraska took first place. Won $5,000. It was awesome. Came back. So I mean, this stuff exists. It's out there. Look for it. And it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. The submarine really didn't really work that. It is. I mean, if you have the drive and determination, and you really want to make something work, and you work at it, that they see that. And that's going to translate later on in your career. Invader was our senior thesis project. We had a different senior thesis experience. It was actually really awesome. We went in with a lot of skills, and we learned quite a bit throughout that whole process. We took a autonomous entry platform that was our senior thesis design. Looked for another competition we could take it to, which is the Intelligent Ground Vehicle competition in Rochester, Michigan, which is what trips me up. It was Rochester, Michigan, or Rochester, New York, and I went to 2 different competitions in each of them, so it's really confusing. But we had 2 weeks to change it over. We had to rip all the stuff off our platform, basically reuse the platform. We're the only ones out there with the gas-powered ATV. It was a crazy experience. I mean, we didn't even compete. We weren't even close to even compete with those people. They had $40,000, $50,000 robots that have been passed down for 5-6 years. Just unbelievable the amount of money they have in these things. But it was fun. It was an awesome experience. It's not something that you've ever seen. You got to go out and do this kind of things. And again, PKI fun. They sent us out there. Let's see. When we got there, we had the only gas-powered one. Everybody else had electric. I misread the rules. I thought it said it had to go at least 5 miles an hour. So we're on the course doing the qualification, and we go up to the marshal, and the marshal says, okay, and the saying will only go 5 miles an hour, right? I was like, yes. And I'm thinking, we had to go like 40 the night before. Like, yeah. So it was a remote control. You had to do a remote control test. I'm just feathering that throttle, like, very, very slowly going through it. He's kind of looking at me funny. Check this off. We passed the qualifications of these. But we didn't do so well with the line following and the obstacles. And we just kind of had cheap stuff, didn't have enough time to do it. But it was still a really cool experience.
You should explain about that ramp. Why the ramp is so
The one we jumped?
good. Yeah.
Oh. Everybody was talking about how this ramp was too steep for their robots to go over. They were getting stuck on it. They didn't have enough power to go over it, and we literally ramped off.
You guys were jumping each other?
Yeah, we jumped over it. It was a crazy project. We have a trailer that we hook up to it and drive around. I got some videos of that on YouTube. Figure board, you can look that stuff up. I also started a small business while I was in school. I was making LED lighting equipment for volunteer emergency vehicles. It seemed like a lot of good stuff to do with small business. Didn't really do much with it through school. Made a few things here and there. Did some contract stuff. I have some products that I build and I sell. I have a website with a trademark that I sell things under. I still do contract development for people. Got a couple of projects out there in town now. But what I kind of found is you can't make a living doing that, really. I mean, you need to get more people in. You need to have an actual business going rather than doing it on your own. So what worked well for me is to get a job that I don't necessarily care about, but it pays well, and then do it on the side. And that's been a good balancing point for me. One other thing that I've noticed is if you get a job in hardware development, A, they don't pay very much. B, they want you to sign a non-compete saying that you can't do any moonlight and you can't do stuff on the side. So if you like doing hardware development and get a job doing it, you're not making very much and you can't do anything on the side. So that was a loss for me right there. I didn't want to keep going with it. But there are other jobs out there that aren't the greatest, but you can do stuff on the side if you still want to. Some advice, take the FE. That bit me in the butt. I wish I would have taken the FE when I was a senior. It's going to be really easy for you guys when you're there. It's like $125, so you probably get it subsidized. Yes?
What is an FE?
Fundamentals of engineering exam. You will be licensed as an engineer in the state of Nebraska with your FE. Then you have 4 years to do professional development under the supervision of a professional engineer, at that time you can take another test to get your PE. And it is a license work. So you would be a licensed engineer. That is very useful if you want to have a small business, if you want to do contract engineering work, if you want to do any kind of work like that. And even if you don't want to do any of that, because my first job couldn't care less if I had the FE. Second job couldn't have cared less. This job that I have now, I love it. I make more money if I had. It just depends on where you go, whether or not they're going to give you more money. What I've learned is the more certifications, the more continuing education, things like that, even if you don't really use it. But the point is, it's going to be really easy when you're a senior taking the test. If you wait 2 or 3 years and come back, it's going to suck because you forget calculus. You got to remember what it's. And look for jobs now. That was the other thing too. I waited until a month before I was going to be out. It wasn't the smart thing to do. Plus, you don't realize what is available out there. You need to figure out where you're going to go. Are you going to stay in Omaha? Are you going to go somewhere else? If you want to travel somewhere else, it's not a big deal. If you want to stay in town, it's pretty limited on what you're going to get a job doing here. And those are things that I wish I had taken more time ahead of time to figure out than just kind of jumping into it and falling off. Which seems like a lot of students do. You're so into school that you don't stop to think about what you're going to do in school. Things I brought, just a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I was just going through and trying to look for things. I brought
Ben Bot.
The Ben Bot is this guy, the original predecessor to the CEEN bot. This is the first CEEN bot. You guys that are all interested in the CEEN bot history, I'm sure you get crammed down your throats all the time. The robot arm was something I did for an independent study. It kind of works. I don't know if this thing's going to turn on.
Those batteries.
No, this batteries are terrible. Yay! Woo!
That's way better than the C-Bot.
Does that answer? I broke it. So no, it has a button. You can watch the motor spin, but it does absolutely nothing. It would pick up a TI-89. That was the most thing to pick up. It's like 340 grams or something like that. The only reason I know what TI-89 weighs. Yes.
Can you please show Dr. Chen this again and tell him to start doing these? Because these are really cool.
See, when we did this project, we had a very strict criteria. It had to be assembled by the students, it had to be all throughable design. And it's 180 degrees from that now, probably more for the reasons of manufacturability and making an actual product is going to be cheaper. Plus, it was a pain in the butt. We did the spirit workshops for a summer or two, and trying to help teachers, like elementary school teachers, solder those boards together was absolutely nuts. So I can see mixing it, and definitely there's a lot of evolutions that are nice. But I was sad to see the suspension there. That was a fun.
You were happy to see it go.
You were?
It was hard to keep balance when you were like throughout the courses and whatnot.
Oh, you go ahead. That's what they need.
They made that regular steering less ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely.
It was impossible with that concept.
You gotta remember that. And it started from this.
We're running kind of long here, so if you guys have other questions for Ben,
Yeah, I don't know where it is, so.
but we're running long. I don't want to make you guys just sit here for like 3 hours.
Go through a bunch of toys together.
Yeah, and then you guys come up and check out some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And talk. So, yeah, sorry we're running along.
Thanks for coming.
Is there anything you want to address or no? Cameron?